Here's a great quote by Bruce Mau, and this pretty much sums it up, that, process is a means to an end. And it's, if we trust the process, we're going to get to an honest place in our designs. If we come in with ideas sort of preformed in our heads and we try to push those through, that's not going to work. What we really need to do is make broader considerations about, information pertaining to audiences and business needs. So, and that's a scary prospect, I think, for a lot of us, because we don't know what's going to happen at the end. It's sort of, we're going down this path, and there's a little bit of faith that's involved, but we know it'll work. And really, this is the formation of, or the underlying formation of how new ideas are born. It's a new idea. You don't know what it's going to be. So we need to go through the steps to see where it'll take us. That's what innovation is about. So again, we're talking about process as a tool for collaboration, bringing folks together, providing business and audience perspectives into our design decisions. There's some logistical things like speed to market, getting things done faster, working efficiently, and certainly risk management was something that we always are dealing with. So collaboration, again, we're working in these groups. We have co-collaborators that we're working with. We need to create a framework for working. We need to explain to them how we work and what the steps are involved. And we need to explain what their roles are, what our roles, what we need from them, what we'll be providing. When we do that, we bring them into the group and we create alignment. On a side note here, I just wanted to mention, this is sort of in the vein of Death of the Design Egotist. Howard Roark, if you're not familiar with the Ayn Rand novel, The Fountainhead, which was written back in 1942 or so. It's about this young, uncompromising architect, Howard Roark, and his vision is the only thing that matters to him. It's all about, what he sees. And other people who try to get involved in his vision only dilute it. And it's this very heroic sort of story, but it sort of doesn't fit anymore. In fact, he gives this speech at the end, which is, it's a great speech, and he says, man's ego is the fountainhead of human progress. And he goes on to say how, every great idea that the individual came up with was crushed by, the client or something along those lines. So, we've all kind of felt that way from time to time, I'm sure. And, this sort of thinking made sense probably in post-World War, communism. There was a lot of nationalism that sort of made these wars happen. People were looking to break off and be individuals. So I can understand the context of this in 1942. In 2008, I think we're looking for something a little different. We need to balance the design ego so that we can be collaborative. And what that means is, the design ego is a powerful thing. It's what makes us what we are. It gives us vision. It's what we bring to the table. But it can also be something that alienates people and excludes them from collaborating with us. So we need to be careful about that. Another aspect of process is, again, it allows us to consider organizational perspectives. So I'm going to give this example of British Airways, who did a makeover a few years ago. They were struggling for a while. They were having a lot more competition from outside airlines, KLM, Lufthansa. So what they did was this is pretty cool. They, for every business goal they had some actionable design solution that went along with it. So this is kind of in the form of a SWOT chart. If we look at their strengths, they looked at, well, what are we good at? Well, people like us because we're British, So we want to maintain that. And they did that by, including these, Union Jacks in their tail fins and things of that nature. They wanted to be global. So in their concourses, they would have, lots of global imagery of places where people were flying and representing the countries that they served. They also had brand equity. People, knew British Airways. They were a fairly big airline. So they didn't want to, again, create something brand new. They just wanted to evolve what they had and build off of, leverage what they've had. So, and then if we look at weaknesses, people were saying, well, they're too formal and there's no recognition of the individual and they're kind of stuffy and they're not cosmopolitan enough. So they had design solutions that answered those problems. They tried to create this youthful image of what Britain was about. You can see that they've started to change their word mark. If you look up at the top there's that little black bird. That was their original